Hello everyone, I'm Lost and welcome to the Hammered Goat. Do I like horror movies? I'm a big horror guy. I love horror. My love for horror started after watching the first Nightmare on Elm Street, and every week at least my wife and I have like a horror movie night where we just watch horror movies. Have I played Omori? If you get me to talk about Omori, we'll be here forever. Because Omori has a fantastic example of art in video games. And fuck it, you got me to talk about it, now we're gonna talk about it, right? Because where does the art in video games come from? A game can have a fantastic story, it can have fantastic graphics, and the actors in the game might be fantastic themselves in order to convey the emotion, but that's not really where the art comes from. The art from a video game has to come from where the video game comes from. The essential element here is choice. So in Omori, there is a segment where you wake up at night and you walk down a staircase. It's your staircase, but it's longer than usual. It takes forever. You're walking and you're walking and you're walking and you start hearing sounds, and you see on the side, because it's pixel graphic, weird eyes in the darkness, maybe. What's happening here? And then you reach the bottom and you hear a knock on the door. And then you hear your sister talk. And she's afraid. She's in pain. She's cold. It's raining outside, and she begs you to let her in. But everything feels wrong. It's weird. Do you open the door? Do you open the door, chat? Yes or no? Do you open the door? No. Yes. Open it. People say yes. So you open the door, and you do so slowly. And for a split second, you see a face. It is your sister, but it's completely twisted. It's barely recognizable. She is not human anymore. Some kind of demonic entity lurks outside of your door. You quickly close the door. And then you wake up. Clearly you have been punished for opening the door. A little while later, this sequence happens again. But it doesn't feel as wrong this time. There is somebody knocking on your door. It's a friend of yours. He says he misses you and he's sad that you haven't talked in a while. But you still have that memory of opening the door and seeing that contorted face. And so, do you open the door a second time, knowing what you saw earlier? And your choice in the matter here will really depend on how your game ends. It's a question of depression, really. Because if you open the door, you get to spend time with your friends and you walk around town and you have a great time. If you don't open the door, you succumb to depression because you isolate yourself from friends. It is the best example of art in video games that I have ever seen, and I have even written a fucking script about this. I never made it into a video though. It was supposed to be on a horror channel. You know what, I also have a horror channel. It was called the Midnight Channel. I did so with a friend of mine. It never really got off the ground though, unfortunately. Lost in Darkness. That is unironically a fantastic idea, Ghost Killer. Big Resident Evil fan, big fan of Silent Hill. Yeah, fantastic. I try my very best to stream some horror games over on Twitch every now and then. So if you guys love that, you should follow me on Twitch. What horror movie scared you so much you never wanted to see it again? What is the scariest horror movie? I love horror movies, but I don't really get scared by horror movies. I think it's because I also grew up watching a lot of Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, right? They weren't really scary, they were just so much fun. I love monsters. I love villains. But the only horror movie that had any effect on me? Hereditary! There you go. Yeah, that's the one, Cirque. I'm too scared to watch that movie. It is perhaps one of the best emotional horror movies Why was it scary to you? It's not scary as much as there's a family that experience a tragedy, and that tragedy, they really managed to convey it in such a fantastic way. And it's really down to the actors, right? I don't remember what her name is, but the main actress in the fucking Hereditary movie, did she win an Oscar for that role? Because I do not give a shit. If she didn't win an Oscar for that role, then the Oscars do not deserve to exist. Toni Collette, there you go. She got snubbed. Was she at least nominated? Watch Martyrs if you want to be crushed emotionally. She wasn't even fucking nominated. Fucking hell. Yeah, no. As far as I'm concerned, Toni Collette, she carried... it's not even that she carried the movie. The movie would have been good regardless. But my god, I feel like Toni Collette just grabbed a hold of my soul and just didn't let go for a while, right? I still feel like she's sitting on my shoulder a bit. Have I seen Funny Games? Yes, I have, but oh god, it's been so many years ago now. Anahano was a good horror movie. I didn't see that. Midsommar is pretty good too. Yeah, Midsommar is a pretty good movie too. It's not Hereditary. But then again, I don't think anything will come close to Hereditary as far as that type of horror, right? There are several types of horror movies. A lot of horror movies follows a sad protagonist that has to overcome some sort of thing. I'm generally not that big of a fan of those types of horror movies, because I like my horror movies to be a bit more fun. The Babysitter, oh boy, that's a great horror movie. But if you're gonna watch one of them, watch Hereditary. The Terrifier 2, The Terrifier 1. The Terrifier is... That's... Have I seen the Japanese original Ring? I have. Yeah. Took me a couple of watches to understand it. I can absolutely get that. There's a lot of small points to Hereditary that when you watch it again, you'll go like, oh, yeah, okay. The fact there are no more good horror games makes my blood boil. Oh, don't say that. Horror is alive and well if you check out indie horror. There are more fantastic indie horror games now than ever before. In fact, I have a third, fourth channel, fuck it, whatever, where I post a lot of horror content. Indie horror is amazing, absolutely. The best horror is the 3 decades I've been alive, and by best I mean worst. Imagine a horror game in the Bloodborne universe. I could absolutely do that. You wake up one day and people around you are all wrong. Will you watch Deadpool and Wolverine? Yeah, it's the only... I'll be honest, that's the only Marvel movie that I give a fuck about. Wolverine and Joker 2. Those are the 2 movies that I'm excited about watching in the cinemas. I love Joker, but some people are taking the character too seriously. Well, here's the funny part of it. When the Joker first came out with Joaquin Phoenix, a lot of people were like really pearl clutching, like, oh, this is gonna be a movie for the incels, these losers, these bad people. They're gonna be inspired to do so much bad shit because of this one movie. My god. I find it hard to believe that these people exist in current year. And I think that's fair to say, because this is the type of bullshit that I expect from censors in the 1950s, not for people watching movies right now. But what was extremely interesting was that the movie was really about how certain people are being mistreated by, you know, I hate to say society, but, you know, by the government and by other people. And the stuff that they said about the people watching fucking Joker was the exact thing the movie was about, with an additional mental health thing there. So yeah, it's everybody that made like an article about how bad the Joker movie would be, how much it would inspire people to do bad shit. You are the problem. I don't know your name, person who wrote these articles. But you are the problem. You're the fucking problem. You think you're standing up for everybody? No, no, no. You are the one who's making the world a worse place. You just think that you are a good person, and you just stand there with your whole fucking virtue signaling dick in your hand, rubbing it until you cover yourself in your own semen. Terrible people. Because if somebody just Look, the Joker in the movie, he does terrible things and unforgivable things. But if people had just showed him some kind of kindness in the beginning, then they could have avoided everything. They could have avoided it. Self-righteous, yeah. Right about the rate page articles. I think Joker 2 has a fair chance of living up to the hype. That movie and Deadpool that I'm going to watch in cinemas. I don't know, by all accounts, John Wayne Gacy was a nice guy and a good neighbor. True, but that doesn't change my point. John Wayne Gacy was probably far... He was a psychopath to the core, right? But most bad people that do bad things aren't psychopaths to the core, right? They are people that, for some reason or another, just end up in a dark place and they do bad stuff. And while I'm not going to excuse any of their actions, that's very important. It's not me excusing their actions. What matters here is that you can stop people from becoming those people, right? This is something that I feel very, very passionate about, because my father was a prison guard in Norway. He's retired now, but he was a prison guard in Norway. But my father never considered himself to be a prison guard. He considered his duties more as a social worker. And that's one of the main reasons why prisons in Norway are better than the prisons in America, because we treat our people with respect and dignity, and we don't look away from the bad stuff that they did. But we try our best to rehabilitate them instead of just putting them in a pressure cooker where they eventually just turn into worse people. Right? It's important to be able to look past the crime and see the human being. And I know that's not something a lot of people want to hear, because, you know, vengeance and an eye for an eye, it's more satisfying that way. But in truth, if you want to build a good society, there needs to be a certain amount of forgiveness. No forgetting, but a certain amount of forgiveness, so that we can make sure that the people that we have there, if we treat people with respect, and if you treat people like people, they will feel better about themselves when they get out. Now, I know that it's very easy to jump to the John Wayne Gacy's of the world, right, and the other serial killers, and that's not a good argument, because you take the 0.5% most extreme cases and apply it to every single case, and that's not how it is. You have to look at things with nuance, and that's not what the rage baiters do, or that's not what the politicians do either, right? So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point of view, going from talking about horror movies to talking about this type of stuff, but hey, at the end of the day, people are a resource. If you want people to be productive members of society, you have to treat them like that. New channel for lost wisdom. Maybe we'll take a piece of this and put it on a different channel, I don't know. It's not really fitting for a let's go out and kill people. By the way, I'm a mass murderer in this video game. Insidious is the best horror trilogy. Best horror trilogy. I'm gonna check out Longlegs. Oh, absolutely. The new Evil Dead movie was pretty good. Oh yeah, I wanna say that was fantastic. The new Evil Dead movie, fantastic. I wanna say that's probably the best Evil Dead movie since... It might actually be the best Evil Dead movie. I know that's a bit of people might look at me and go like, for shame. Look, the original Evil Dead movies have a lot of charm, right? But they were made when the guy, he wasn't at the top of his craft yet. Let's be honest. There's a new Evil Dead. Yeah, there was a new Evil Dead a few years ago called Evil Dead Rise. Visage and Luto. Yeah. So Visage is perhaps the scary, at least the beginning of Visage. And I'll be honest, this is kind of how it goes with every horror movie that I watch, or every horror game that I play. They start out like super scary because you have no fucking idea how things work. And then they get less and less scary. But Visage, I think, is perhaps just the best or the scariest game I have ever played. That just hit me somehow. That just really hit me real hard. Alien Isolation was a heartfelt love letter to the OG Alien movie. Yeah. Fantastic game. I don't know. I heard it flopped financially, but artistically, the Alien game, really fantastic. If you're a big fan of the OG Resident Evil games, I also highly suggest that you check out a game called Tormented Souls. A lot of fun. My favorite horror game of all time is PT. Absolutely love. Yeah. You're heartbroken it never got made into full game. I'll be honest with you. I don't think that the full game would ever live up to the demo and what we think we would get. I don't think it would ever live up to that. Still, that demo itself, I think, revitalized the way people were making horror games. Visage is a spiritual follow-up to PT. Fear is also fantastic, yeah. Dead Space 1 was solid, but Dead Space 1 also suffered much more of the it's scary for about 20 minutes, and then it's not scary anymore. But that might just be a me thing, because when I get used to a game, when I learn it, it's generally not as scary. I suppose the only few exceptions are games where you don't get to fight back as much. Horror games are hard to balance, because you have to make them hard enough for people to get scared, but if they become too hard, they become frustrating, and the frustration will kill all sense of suspense. That demo generally changed the way I perceive horror. I think it changed a lot of people's perspective. I think that what we have now is very much similar to what what PT would be. Soma was depressing, the story was awesome. Soma is a good example of how you can tell a story through a video game and really have it hit, right? It really hits. People sleep on the horror of Scorn. I played Scorn, and I'll have to be honest, there was a few choices there that really made me a little frustrated. The gameplay wasn't as good as it would be. It was very stylish, I will give it that, and the art direction is fantastic, but there was something lacking there. VR horror is on a different level. I don't have a VR headset, unfortunately. I wish I had. Do you like analog horror? Yeah, I mean, there is something really exciting about analog horror. Because that hits me in the feels, right? Because I grew up with VHS and that type of stuff. Quarantine was my intro to that style, and I enjoyed it. Quarantine 2008. Robot Overlord. Have you seen the Spanish version of that? Because it was originally a Spanish movie called Rec. They're both good, but Rec is better. Yeah, Rec is the original. Did I not say that? Are all Rec movies good? I think Rec 1 and Rec 2 is pretty good. I don't know if there's a third one. Rec 3 and 4 are kind of poopy in my opinion. I think that I don't think Rec as a concept warranted 3 and 4. You have the first Rec. Great. You have the second Rec to explain some more stuff. Alright. You know what? That's fair. And then later on, yeah. Really do things warrant a 3 and a 4. Plot was pretty weak, yeah. What is Rec? Rec is a movie about... It's a zombie movie. Spanish zombie movie where they're trapped in a building and you're following a camera crew. The reporter goes there to kind of... I don't remember why, but to report on the story. They get trapped inside of the building and then they have to survive. I don't want to say more, but that's basically how it goes. I don't think movies that get 3 to 4 sequels perform very well. It's rare anyways. True, but, you know, I guess it kind of depends on the movie. If it's planned out as in the beginning, that's fair. If there's a character that you follow that is like an action hero, sure. So you'll have like James Bond or the Fast and the Furious and Indiana Jones. Well, I say that, but Indiana Jones 4 wasn't very good. Does John Wick deserve as many sequels as it has gotten, you think? Yeah, I think so. The concept might be wearing a little thin, but the action is just so goddamn good. You know, it's the quality of the action in that movie is what it's all about. All the movies are just an excuse for Keanu Reeves to start, like, pounding on people. It was Outlast 2. I'll be honest with you, Outlast 2 annoyed the hell out of me. It wasn't the greatest. Oh, what was it called? There was a collection of a bunch of horror movies lately. It was made by Guillermo del Toro, or at least produced by him. Dude, Upgrade was awesome. Upgrade is an amazing movie. A lot of it is down to how good the actor is. Cabinet of Curiosity, yeah. It was mixed. It was mixed as far as how good it was. Do you know Smile? Yeah. I watched Smile pretty quickly after it came out. Crimson Peak could have been better, but it's that type of horror movie that I love, quite frankly. Pan's Labyrinth is kind of good. Oh, it's more than kind of good. Pan's Labyrinth is fantastic. Probably the best movie that Guillermo del Toro has made. Probably. Although I really like Mama as well. Also, he made like a Spanish ghost story. The Thing 1982 is peak horror. That's true as well. Best creature in a horror movie is the Babadook. I mean, it has style, yeah. I personally, as far as horror movies go, my favorite villain is Freddy Krueger. I thought the Hellraiser reboot was pretty good myself. I didn't actually mind that they switched the gender of the villain. If there's one horror villain that has a very androgynous element to it, it would be Pinhead. She did a good job, that lady. I really liked it, even if it wasn't... It was good, it wasn't great, but it was definitely deserving of success, and I hope to see more of it. Freddy's not that scary, though. No, he's not that scary, but he's fucking hilarious. And one of the best things about, you know, A Nightmare on Elm Street is that they are creative. Unless we're talking about the remake that just... Oh, I would have gotten him. I think the Annabelle verse and the Insidious verse are overrated. They have gone on for a little bit too long now. I still watch all of the movies, because it's nice popcorn horror. 13 Days of Night, ooh, that's a good one, yeah. How do you feel about the newest Child play? I thought it was a clever change-up. I think the newest Child play, where Mark Hamill is is Chucky. Mark Hamill is just great as a voice actor. Yeah, I really liked it. While I do prefer my horror movies to be supernatural in tone, you know, they did a good job. How about Lights Out? Ooh, what's Lights Out again? The Void. I've seen The Void. Love Lovecraftian stuff. Love it. This stream is very good. Thank you, buddy. Probably should heal so I don't accidentally murder myself. The Color of Space. Another good one. Yeah. Blind Old Man. Oh, yeah, Lights Out. Blind Man. Yeah, the first one. The first one is great. I haven't seen the second one. I heard it was terrible. Talk to Me was scary as fuck, too. Oh, Talk to Me. Another fantastic horror movie. Talk to Me. And then there was another horror movie about a deaf person called... I think it was called Hush. What is the horror creature that, in your opinion, is the most dangerous in the sense that it's the best at killing, making you feel absolutely defenseless? Oh, what's the best horror creature? If we exclude people like Freddy who can attack you in dreams, because he's less of a monster and not more of a creature. There's a movie called Splinter. That's a pretty good one. The first Jeepers Creepers was good. Yeah, but he's more of a villain and not... It might be a creature. I just feel like he's a villain, though. The Thing is also great. Did you see The Empty Man? Yeah. Yeah, I did. Did we talk about Hereditary yet? We did. Yeah, we did. Splinter was freaky. I loved it. Yeah. That's a horror movie that doesn't get enough love. I like Jack in the Box. Don't find him scary, though. I think of him like a good friend as long as you pay his bills. Can Predator movies be considered horror? I mean, honestly, the first Predator movie is definitely horror. It starts off as an action movie, and then it becomes a horror movie. That creature might actually be unstoppable. If The Thing was released in a city and not Antarctica, then yeah, The Thing is probably the best one. Cocaine Bear! I really liked Cocaine Bear. It was stupid, but fun. What do you think of Cabin in the Woods? Really, really good horror parody movie. Loved it. I Can't Be Afraid. Well, it is a horror movie in the sense that the literal category of movie this is, from a screenwriter's perspective, is trapped in a house with a monster. They're trying to fight back. Of course, Arnold is Arnold. The Blob was fun. The Blob, there's a couple of Blob movies. One is from the 50s, another one is from the 80s, and the 80s one, fantastic. What do you think about Barbarian? Barbarian was a weird movie. Great, but weird. I think Barbarian had a little bit of pacing issues, but the way they went back and forth was definitely an artistic choice, and I respect it. I have no mouth and I must scream is peak horror. Yeah, probably. Yeah, Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Yeah. Salad Fingers is a blast from the past, but I think the guy who made Salad Fingers is now making really heavy-duty animations. I don't remember what he's doing. I mean, the Blair Witch Project is iconic. You know what I found extremely hilarious with the Blair Witch Project? The lady in the Blair Witch Project won a Razzie for her performance in that movie. And a Razzie is like an award for a bad performance, right? However, so many people thought that movie was real. I don't understand how you can give that lady a Razzie and at the same time have her perform so well that people just think it's real. I don't take this Razzie seriously either. Marketing also helped people believe it was real. True. I will still defend that woman's performance till my dying breath. That's a hill I'm willing to die on. What's your favorite horror movie? Favorite horror movie? Probably Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Or 1. Would I be willing to play a 16-bit horror game? Of course. One of my favorite horror games is Yuppie Psycho. That's a fantastic horror game. Brightburn. I enjoyed Brightburn as well, but not as a horror movie. I was never afraid. I would love to watch a sequel to Brightburn. Yeah, The Boys and the Homelander is the sequel to Yeah. Grew up in the 70s and 80s reading the Airy comics, alone in the dark in my room, on the blanket with a flashlight. You grew up in the 70s and 80s? Well, Gen X Monk, you're officially the stream elder then. Everybody show Gen X Monk some respect! Okay? Respect him! I'm a lost guy. Welcome to chat. I don't smell bad or yell at kids. Do you yell at clouds yet, Gen X? Do you go like, damn you, clouds? Do you say like back in my day? Cause I say that now. Back in my day. Back in my day, we had landlines. Yeah. I remember when I was working, the business I worked at had a landline, and I was just like, why the fuck me. Huh. I find myself saying back in my day a lot more with the younger people and my kids, yeah. What's my favorite Souls game? The first one, Demon Souls. Out of all of the Souls games, you never forget your first. I hated Demon Souls when I first played it. But that was back in the day, right? Where you couldn't just... I'd spent like $70 on the game because I really liked the trailer, and I bought the special edition and I couldn't trade it back in. So what the fuck was I gonna do now? So I just sat down and I played, and I slowly went from hating it to loving it. But I don't remember the in-between. I just remember fucking hating it and then loving it. Granted, I also spent like 30 minutes figuring out how to enter a fucking level, so that wasn't great. Back in the day. Yeah. Windows Defender popping up to say it didn't find any viruses, akin the cops showing up to your house to let you know that everything is fine. It still scares the shit out of you!